Hello, oneness. Good to be with you. Not that I have any choice. I mean, since you're oneness and there's nothing outside of you, that means I gotta be with you. As a matter of fact, it means I gotta be you, doesn't it? Just one thing. That means this is the one thing. That's the one thing. This is the one thing. This is the one thing. Even the Buddha is the one thing, right? Especially the Buddha is the one thing. Would be a more proper way to say that. So there is a sense that we can be elsewhere, that we can be disconnected from oneness. But let's look at it now. Let's go carefully. How many connections do you think oneness has? I mean, it seems like oneness must be a very big thing. It must have all kinds of connections. But it doesn't. Oneness doesn't have any connections because there's just oneness. There's nothing for it to connect to. And so there's actually nothing that you can disconnect from because you're oneness and you're thinking you're just that one little human over there who's watching this video being cut by another little human. And that's not true. This video is brought to you by oneness. It's brought to you oneness by oneness for oneness. And guess what this is all about? The whole damn thing is going to be about oneness. You know why? Because it can't be about anything else. It's just, this is it. See, this is oneness. This is the one thing. It's right here. We don't have to look for it. We can't possibly disconnect from it. We can't lose it. And now I hear people say, boy, I had the oneness experience and it was fantastic. And then somehow I lost my connection to it. What connection was that? Well, I had this thing and then, I knew who I was and then I lost it. And it's like, well, where did you leave it? Oneness, right? Did you leave it outside of oneness? Is that even possible? I don't think so. Well, I had it and then I just moved through it. So when you move through it, oneness, when you move through yourself, where do you end up? You end up inside of yourself, don't you? Not that there's an outside, but inside is just an easy way to try to express this. But understand that oneness, there's no boundary, so there's no center. This thinks it's a center. This has thought it was a center for 60 plus years. Damn long time. And it's pretended to be a center most of that time. And it didn't even know it was pretending. It really thought it was the center, right? It thought... And it thought that this was all about this. It did. And that's the reason I was so angry and confused, is because I knew that this was all about this, but y'all didn't know it. Instead of paying attention to my wishes, you were selfishly paying attention to yours. That is the way of self-centeredness, isn't it? So this is actually oneness talking to oneness, because when you think about oneness, can there be anybody else here talking about oneness? When there's only oneness, oneness has got to be talking to itself. And what is the topic that we are discussing, my dear oneness? Well, we're discussing oneness, aren't we? Because there's nothing else. We can't be talking about anything else. So when people come to me in oscillation, I want to know where they're oscillating from, and I want to know where they're oscillating to, because that's what oscillation means. It means back and forth, in and out, or just like a fan might be, an oscillating fan. Be back first, it's going to point over here, then it's going to point over here. So you need two things, or in order to oscillate. Because Oneness can't oscillate. There's nowhere for it to oscillate to. There's nowhere for it to oscillate from. There's no such thing. So it's the myth of oscillation. The myth of oscillation is when we believe it is the term, oscillation is the term we use to try to describe the sense of Fred, or actually, you know, we think we're a Fred or a Bob or a Carol or, you know, whatever. And it feels like Carol moves into clarity, and then it feels like Carol moves out of clarity. And it feels like Carol has just got this thing, and then it feels like, oh, damn, I just dropped it, right? I don't have this thing. And that it affects seekers. It's part of the package. So if you're in oscillation, don't worry about it. Celebrate. It's a highest quality problem you can have. Because you are in clarity part of the time. Good God. Stop being so damn greedy. I can remember when you were begging to just have, you know, a moment of clarity. Just please, God, give me a moment of clarity. Please, God, give me another moment of clarity. Because clarity is the sweetest drug of all. It really is. You'd be amazed that when there's nothing but awakeness, you'd be amazed the percentages of awakeness that actually is clear. I mean, when we look at successful finders, in other words, enlightened beings on the planet, by number, we're a pretty good group, pretty big group. I can tell you that. But by percentage, we're infinitesimally small. We're just this much. We're just this much of the population. You can't even, I really could squeeze my hands together as long as I don't do it tightly. That's how much we are. That's how many we are compared to the whole of so-called others. You'll also be surprised at the percentage of awakeness that is clear. It's infinitesimal. Even with awakening, you know my term, that many awaken, few clear. That's the truth. Waking up is actually not that unusual. You've woken up in your life, I almost guarantee it. You just didn't notice it. You walked right through it because you were looking for oneness. You were continuing to look for oneness. Well, when there's only oneness, I mean, how long do you think oneness can look for oneness? I believe it can look pretty much forever. And I believe that in most cases it does. Is that from cradle to grave, oneness as these things is searching for itself. And it's very hard to search for yourself. It's like me searching for my butt. I mean, I know that there's a butt there, so I'm just sure of it. But I can't see it, right? I can't see it. I'm looking for it, and I'm turning all around, but it's not behind me, because wherever I go, the butt goes, because that's part of me. And I am part of this. So when I say I turn around, I'm just saying that there's turning within oneness. Just like there's talking within oneness, because it seems like Fred talking to you, but there's no Fred. And there is maybe a you, but you're not the one you think you are. I get that much, I'll guarantee you. Because you've been brainwashed and trained to believe you're just that one little thing over there. And that's not true. There's that little dog again. So I may have to go put him outside. And if so, that'll be part of this video. It won't be the thing that disturbed this video or interrupted this video. Because this video is only about what is. It doesn't have any choice. It can't be about anything else. And what is can include dog barks, or it can not include dog barks. Either way. But there's still just what is. And there's no way you can interrupt what is, because there's no boundaries. There's no way to cut into oneness, right? It's like we can't come in and slice up oneness. We can come in and recognize that oneness is showing up as diversity, incredible diversity. Look at this. All shapes, all sizes, all kinds, sentient, non-sentient, this, that, round, square. It's all oneness. It's all you. How can you oscillate from yourself? There can't be any oscillation, but there can be the belief in oscillation. And even before you have the word, like the word was really helpful for me when I first discovered it. I think I first heard it from Adyashanti, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago. And it was like a light. It was like, oh, oscillation. They got a name for this thing that I'm going through. They got a name for this, this movement in hell. Where I got it, I don't got it. I got it, I lost it. I got it, it faded. It left. I lost my connection. You can't lose a connection to oneness because oneness has no connections. It's oneness. There's nothing, I mean, so oneness can't possibly oscillate because there's nowhere for it to go. So again, we're talking about the myth of oscillation. People blame things on a non-existent character. This is actually, post-awakening. It's just not post-clarity. I don't know anything about post-clarity. Don't want to know anything about post-clarity because is that I don't understand this thing, but I don't have a problem with it. I don't know what's going on, but since I don't know what should be going on, I mean, I can't possibly know. I can't possibly argue with what is going on because I don't have that much information. I'm not smart enough to argue with this, but most of you are. So, and it's just notice when I say that, I did it too. So I'm not talking down to you. I'm talking, well, I am you. So I'm certainly not talking down to you. I'm talking about different aspects. Oneness shows up in many, many sizes and flavors. When you think that you've got it, it's usually the unit that's making that claim. It's the character unit that's making that claim. I've got it. Who's the I? Well, I, Fred, have got it. Well, no, you don't got it. There's no got this thing. There's just getting this thing. And part of getting this thing is getting over the idea of oscillation. You can't possibly oscillate. There cannot be any oscillation of any kind within the dream. Okay, fans and everything else can oscillate. And see, you are not the dream. On an individual level, so to speak, we are the dreamed. This is not Fred's dream. Fred is the dream. I am a whiteness experiencing myself as a Fred. And I know that I'm a whiteness experiencing myself as a Fred. But what I notice is that even though I know that I am a whiteness experiencing myself as a Fred, there is no Fred. So I can't be experiencing myself as a Fred. What I'm experiencing myself is as a unit. But if there's a Fred there in pre-awakening, there's going to be a Fred there in post-awakening, which means it ain't really post-awakening. Or it's, oscillation, which is what? It's a believed thought. What is that oscillation? It's a believed thought. You know what I'm believing? I'm believing I'm a Fred, says awakeness. And when a whiteness believes it's a Fred, it's very unpleasant, I have to tell you. I've spent enough time out of the dream that the dream holds no real charm for me anymore. I mean, I enjoy these so-called objects and their emotions here, and I love my wife, and I love those dogs that drive me crazy. But overall, I'm not in any, overly charmed. I'm not going to miss this. You know why? Because there'll be no I here to miss this. See, there is nothing here now, so there can't be anything that was here before, right? There's been no incarnation of a Fred Davis here yet, so there can't be later an incarnation of a Fred again. It's just an illusion. It's just that this is a rainbow in the sky. It doesn't weigh anything. It's not any given height. It doesn't take up any volume, but yet I'm experiencing it, which is whatever that is experiencing it. And so are you. And the you that's experiencing that is twofold, even though there's just one thing, is that you are experiencing this unit as a unit. Your unit is experiencing this unit. That's the story. That's the dream. Awakeness is currently talking to awakeness. That's the truth of what's happening. That's awakeness talking to awakeness about awakeness. Damn, this thing is maddening, isn't it? But, you know, it's not maddening for me anymore. It's not always going to be maddening. It's not even always going to be confusing. You know, you can give up on trying to understand this, and that will be the biggest step you can take toward the understanding, with a capital U. Because the understanding is not like knowledge with a small K, like from books and museums and stuff. The knowing that's here is with a capital K, because there's not anything other than this knowing. There's this knowing, but it doesn't actually know anything other than itself, because there's not anything other than itself. God almighty. I think I'm just about done. I notice the words are running out. The body is still willing. As a matter of fact, the ego would like to just go on and on. But I really think we're done here.